Infinite Umbra. I want to go to you first about the Battlefield. Now, obviously, Battlefield showed off a trailer, or it's they showed off a teaser trailer for the next Battlefield, and the one I happened to pull that actually had a clip of just actual gameplay was from Shinobi 602. And I got to tell you, folks, the Battlefield Labs sounds and looks incredible. And the gameplay that's on display, because it's gameplay, that's what it is. You see someone running and shooting in first person. It looks like gameplay. It is everything I could possibly want from Battlefield. But I think one of the most interesting things that I have not seen a lot of people talk about is more specifically the teams. Now, what EA is doing here is, I think, brilliant. And they're doing what Call of Duty has done for years. And that, of course, is to deliver this next Battlefield. It's bigger, it's better. I think all of us, look, I'll say this. If you are an OG Battlefield player, what we saw on display yesterday was exactly what we have all been wanting and asking for. We want Battlefield in the modern era. We want big, bombastic explosions and buildings falling down when you throw a grenade or you shoot a grenade launcher or a rocket launcher. You want to be able to drive vehicles. You want to be able to play with up to 32 people on this ginormous map and just go ham at each other. That's what was on display. But Umbra, I think that this particular next point, no one is talking about, because back in the days, DICE used to be the developer, and that was it. They, and I mean EA, seem to have pulled a Call of Duty. Now, Call of Duty, as you know, is not made by one studio. Now, one studio, whether it be Treyarch, whether it be Infinity Ward, they take the lead. But they are supported by all of the other studios like Raven. When Treyarch isn't leading the charge, their support for Infinity Ward and vice versa. There's a lot of studios that get involved in this, the minds of Call of Duty, if you will. Interestingly enough, this next Call of Duty, obviously, is being led by Vince Zampella. Now, Vince Zampella, if you don't know, folks, is responsible for making Call of Duty that we're playing today why it exists. Him and his and the partner that he used to work with created, obviously, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, and then it's off to the races. And obviously, you know the history about what happened with him and Activision, that he was, literally escorted out the building. He created Respawn. Respawn Entertainment came out with Titanfall, an amazing game. Respawn was purchased by EA, and now everything he touches pretty much turns to gold. And, well, look, what I'm getting at, Umbra, is it's now Battlefield, the next Battlefield is being made by 4 studios, and I have it here. Now, I'm going to read directly from the presser. Battlefield Studios is comprised of DICE, creators of the Battlefield franchise. Ripple Effect is the second studio, a studio led by franchise veterans working on an all-new experience for the series. Motive, the developers for the critically acclaimed Star Wars Squadrons and Dead Space remake. And Criterion, known for world-class racing. These 4 studios are now working together like Voltron to deliver the next Battlefield. I think it's brilliant. I really do, because Criterion, they're a racer, right? They make the Burnout series. They're known for that. They're known for Need for Speed as well. And then you have DICE. Listen, DICE has always been a talented studio. They've had some pretty down days for sure. Ripple Effect, I've never heard of, to be honest with you. That's rather new. I believe it's a new studio, And Motive, listen, Motive is another super, super talented studio. I know that you don't really have a connection to Battlefield, but you did see the trailer. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about it, like you were saying, I want to do this, I want to do that. I want to jump out of a jet like that guy did and blow somebody up, and then land inside my jet again. That's what I want to do. The one that's if I had to say anything that has enticed me is seeing people pull off these crazy, kills and things like that, and seeing the destructibility and things like that. That's really, really cool. Yeah, games though, like for me, where you just kind of running around, just taking each other out. That has never really appealed to me, so I never gave it a chance. Plus, I'm an arena shooter fan, right? I love me some Halo, so it's been tough for me to move and deviate from that as my default first person shooter. That's why I never really gave it much of a chance. But I've heard nothing but praise about it for many other games. Battlefield 3, 4, for instance. I know 2042, and not a lot of people liked it. It had issues from people I've spoken to about it. But I think what they did, and some of the people you named already, from DICE to Motive to Criterion so all of those studios coming together, much as they do for Call of Duty on ABK side, I think you got a lot of positivity there. And on top of it, you got the architect with Vince Zampella doing his thing.
Yeah, man.
And Vince and his team, I mean, from Titanfall to Apex to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, yeah, I don't think you can ask for somebody better to lead this, lead them right. He knows what he's doing. I know he's been promoted too, I believe, in EA. I forgot what the title was, but I know he's promoted.
He got quite a few promotions, and they did throw the Battlefield franchise on his back to carry on top of Apex, on top of Star Wars, because that's supposed to be a trilogy, right? So they're working on the third one. We're all hoping and praying to the gaming gods that Titanfall returns at some point. That dude is carrying a load for EA.
Yeah, and not in his diaper. The man is no, the man is doing his thing. And I for me, when I heard about Battlefield, they're going back to the drawing board for Battlefield way back, well before we got this teaser, if you will.
Yeah,
we talked about it on the Infinite podcast, and I said, well, with Vince Zampella there, EA is in good hands. I think they know exactly who to go to. You had Apex at the time when we talked about it was super popping. Like you got so many, it's always a niche market in the black hole games, but it's like he came in there with his team with Apex and they landed there and stuck. You know what I mean? And that's a tough feat in itself. And lots of people love Apex. I've watched my nephew play it tons of times. So he clearly knows what he's doing when it comes to that. What would have me is again the destructibility, being able to play, because I know they
it looks so good, bro. It looks real.
It does. And Jamie, you would know more, but I think they had something of a 128 player match in 2042.
Yeah.
And now they taking it down to 64 now, back to 64 players.
Yeah,
that's still a 32 on 32 is unbelievable.
Yeah, I was told something about this. I was talking to some fellas the other day, and so you could tell me, Jamie. He said that it was something seen, I guess, in Battlefield 3, where you would jump from this, I don't know, mountainside or pinnacle of something, and everybody in unison would be like jumping off with their parachute, like 60 people and stuff. That's what he was telling me about. I was like, okay. I said, what y'all doing, like synchronized balloon, like parachute diving or something? What's going on? He's like, no. And, I'm joking around with him, but he's like, no, we jump down and you start shooting each other. But yeah, so that it does really sound really dope. I know you can get like in helicopters, Apache, helicopters and things like that, in jets. All of that stuff is what sounds crazy and over the top, and what I would like to do for sure. One thing I would say too is it's going to have a story mode, so that interests me for that reason. Having a story mode will pull me into it. Also, I like their approach of having like a testing phase with the community to bring them in. A few people I was talking to the other day said they had signed up for it. I think they were like 99,000 in line or something like that. So yeah, so stuff like that, I think they're going in the right direction. They got great creatives behind it, just seeing the teaser we saw, I think everybody has a reason, if you are a Battlefield fan, to be excited again, I would say.
I mean, great points all around. And mind you, great points from someone who normally doesn't really, go to play Battlefield. I am going to say, though, the confirmation that there is going to be a story, I think is phenomenal. I think that, I know that at one point they got away from it the same way Call of Duty did, especially, I don't remember which Black Ops it was.
Black Ops 4.
There you go. I didn't buy it because then I wasn't a addicted maniac. And I got news for you. I'm playing a couple of games. Obviously, I'm playing Avowed, and I'm doing it for review. So it's I'm super serious with it. I'm getting up at 2:00 in the morning, playing to 4, going back to sleep, getting up, taking Mrs. Boom, working out, taking care of the house, going back to playing Avowed. I can't get away from it. But I also have super withdrawal from. I just want to jump right back into Call of Duty. I know that I have a responsibility. I got to get my Avowed stuff done. I got to get my South to Midnight preview ready to rock and roll, which I'm working on right now. It's a lot, but I got to tell you, I'm having such a good freaking time. It's crazy, but Battlefield looks like it's back. And interestingly enough, it's only rumors, folks, that this year's Call of Duty is supposedly going to be a sequel of sorts to Black Ops 2, which is probably one of the best in the franchise outside of 6, right? No doubt about it. And these two titans are going to go back and forth. I you know what? I'm here for it. I'm going to be playing both of them. I cannot wait to get into it. But Jamie, you are a Battlefield guy. And when we were talking in the green room, your excitement was there on display. I kind of want you to throw it out there to the ether now. This is what we've been waiting for. When I say we, I'm an old school Battlefield guy. I have been for years. I remember when Battlefield first came out on the OG Xbox. Oh my God. I mean, it's just the amount of fun that I've had with that series. It's of yesteryear. The last couple of releases have not been great. They've launched broken. I mean, this excites me. This seems like Vince Zampella's influence is on display as a leader that this franchise needed to step up. It looks like he did. Let's get your thoughts on what you saw yesterday.
I mean, I was so excited by what I saw because for the longest time, people like me have been wanting, look, we just want Battlefield 3, but new. Pretty graphics, new setting. That's literally it. Copy, paste, new graphics. And, Battlefield fans have had it rough. People, over the past year, I've seen people argue online about Call of Duty versus X-Defiant and, what's going to be the Call of Duty killer. And I've seen people call the new Battlefield the Call of Duty killer. Battlefield will never be a Call of Duty killer. It's a different type of game. But Battlefield fans have had it rough. And I mean really rough. I'll put it like this. I switched from Call of Duty to Battlefield 3 in 2011. It was, I'm not even kidding. Okay, maybe I'm being a bit melodramatic. It was life-changing for me as a multiplayer experience. Battlefield 3 was incredible. And I had to double check, but Battlefield 3 was 24 players online on console. On PC, it was 64. But even on console, 24 players seemed like a lot with those maps. The map design, the combat, everything was excellent. And visually, it was leagues ahead of Call of Duty. The sound design was leagues ahead of Call of Duty. And that was the one time where people could say, hey, Battlefield was actually trying to compete with COD. Because the netcode actually worked. The maps were great. The combat was great. All of it was great. And Battlefield 4 came out with the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, and people talk about 2013 and the Xbox One launch. No, Battlefield 4 was absolutely broken at launch. The campaign wouldn't save, meaning that if you wanted to play through the whole campaign, you had to actually, I'm not even kidding, you had to actually play through the campaign in one go because it couldn't save. Yeah, ridiculous. And as a campaign guy, I found that out the hard way. I played through the first few missions like a dozen times thinking what the hell's going on. But the multiplayer netcode was absolutely broken beyond belief, to the point where You couldn't even like get hit markers on characters. You didn't know if you hit other characters. It was awful. They had good ideas for the for the multiplayer with like Levolution, where the maps would dynamically change with these events, but it was broken. And then by the time they got all the new map packs out, people stopped playing. It was a dead game because look, people are making fun of Call of Duty Ghosts because of it not being a big step up from the previous CODs, but at least it works. Battlefield 4 was heart-wrenching how broken it was.
Yeah.
And then a year later, we get Battlefield Hardline, which is cops versus robbers. Broken netcode at launch. The campaign was kind of boring, very short, and the combat wasn't really that good. And then we get Call of Duty, Battlefield 1, World War 1, and I'm not even kidding, like 2 weeks after launch, everyone in that game start using sniper rifles. It wasn't even fun anymore. And that's when they removed the campaign. They start doing these things called war stories, where you'd basically have 3 campaign missions all around a different setting, sometimes using multiplayer maps as the actual level. And they were crap. I'll be honest, they're absolutely crap. And there's Battlefield devs that follow me, and I've told them it was crap.
Yeah.
And then we get Battlefield 5. They continued the war stories, absolute trash fire. And, what's this? Broken netcode at launch. People were using sniper rifles constantly. And it was just visually absolutely stunning. But it had the smallest amount of support for any Battlefield ever. And like they tried doing a battle royale, which nobody played.
Nope.
And I think once I got in playing, I think there was only 20 other people playing.
Wow.
Yeah, like nobody was playing it. And then we get Battlefield 2042 announced 3 years ago or something. And they were like, hey, you're going to have 120 players, the biggest, most dynamic maps to date, these fancy graphics, all this good stuff, right? The problem is that everything we were shown at those A3s or like summer showcases, they were hobbled together last minute. Nothing was working. Vehicles didn't even have collision, meaning that if you wanted to like pilot a jet, you could bounce off all the buildings and off the ground, and nothing would happen.
Oh,
So
wow.
so you didn't have to worry. And Battlefield's just like lost its magic over time. And look, I'll be honest, I was bamboozled. I was like lied to by that trailer because I was hyping that up, saying, "Look at these screenshots, look at this trailer and all this stuff." And the game came out and it was terrible. And that's when people were like, "You know what? Battlefield doesn't need 120 players. Battlefield was at its best when it was more focused. Yeah, you still have big maps, and by the way, we didn't have destructibility pretty much at all for the past few Battlefield games. Battlefield 2042 destruction is basically non-existent. The maps were terrible, and then we get this new trailer today or yesterday, and it looks can be deceiving, but it looks exactly like what we've been wanting. Battlefield 3 style combat, same level design, smaller, less amount of people playing. Like, honestly, I think 32 players would be fine. But it looks like Battlefield 3 fancy graphics. And I can tell there's a lot of people excited for this because I just checked my queue number to try and sign up for the beta or the labs test. I am 1,117,000
Oh my goodness.
in the queue. I've literally been in the queue since yesterday at 7 p.m.
Wow, dude, that's crazy.
So, like, I better keep that page open.
Yep.
But look, there's a lot of people wanting Battlefield to be good, and as someone that I haven't been excited properly about Battlefield since 2011. Like when I was playing that game and loving it, every single time we've had a release since, it's been bad. Whereas Call of Duty, yeah, you've had some years where the multiplayer wasn't as good, but you've still had, really fun campaigns, fun co-op modes, even things like Warzone to change things up a bit. But Battlefield, man, like there's a reason why Battlefield fans are really looking at that. What's it called? Black Hawk Down game. I can't remember what it was called.
Oh yeah, that actually looks really good. I forgot the name of it. It looks phenomenal. Yep.
Yeah, and like that looks fantastic, but that's mainly like going to be like a Battlefield game when it comes to console. It's already out on PC, but this looks really like what Battlefield fans have been wanting. And do you know what's really salty about me right now? As someone that loves Battlefield 3, about a year ago or 2 years ago, They were basically remastering Battlefield 3, but they were only going to bring it to iPhones, and then they cancelled the project. So,
Oh man.
I'm salty still. But I put it like this: I don't really play multiplayer much anymore. I play Call of Duty once a week with one of my friends. I'm not in multiplayer anymore. But the second I saw that trailer, I got excited again because that's Battlefield. That's the Battlefield I want. And if it comes out and it's like that, and it's like,
Dude.
shiny Battlefield 3,
Yes.
I mean, it's going to be the best thing ever. And like, look, I get it. There's Battlefield fans that want Bad Company back, and I think, and I hope they do Bad Company one day. But I think for the direction multiplayer is going at the minute, basically with everyone, I think that a Battlefield 3, I'm doing air quotes, successor would be just so perfect right now. Because yeah, you have Call of Duty, and you have people dressed up as like Nicki Minaj and Homelander flying all over the map, right? Which is cool. And I love Call of Duty's combat. But like, I think a more focused military style shooter like Battlefield, if it's just like 3, it'll be good. And look, it is an 11-second trailer or footage, but it's enough to get me hyped.
I mean, listen, you're not wrong, and that's going to be the contributing factor to who plays what, right? Like, I know there are a lot of people that don't like all of these wacky skins. Is it like at any one time on Call of Duty Black Ops 6, you could be running around with a guy that's dressed as a shark. You can get a weed smoking lizard. You can get Nicki Minaj, I suppose. There's a guy dressed as Santa Claus. I look like the Rocketeer. Look, I like that stuff, and that's why I continue to play it. But I see there is definitely a need for a more unstylized, like bone, crunching military shooter. Battlefield is going to be that. And obviously, Call of Duty is going to be what it's going to be. I think that's where it's going to separate. I like the fact that there is going to be two different military shooters. I'm going to play both. I was very excited by the trailer. It did bring me back, Jamie, and you knocked it out of the park with the whole. It brings me back to Battlefield 3. That's the vibes that I got. Like, I got that real, militaristic, old school Battlefield that we've all been asking for, and they've had a real hard time delivering. And it looks like, again, you got to bring this back to leadership. The leadership that we know has taken the reins of this franchise that was in despair is Vince Zampella. And again, like I said, I don't know Vince personally, but I can say as a gamer, every time that guy touches something, it winds up being a really, really good game because his influence is in on that development. But that, again, folks, hopefully you enjoyed the Battlefield talk. I'm excited for it. That trailer was awesome. Again, if you showing up to the show late, they're pulling a Call of Duty. And Activision is what they're ultimately doing. They have 4 studios that are making this game, and I think that is brilliant. Instead of putting all of the pressure on DICE to deliver, now they have multiple studios working on this one massive Battlefield.